All right, you guys are awake, just making sure. Making sure you're listening. It's a town council regular meeting. Correct?
Yes.
All right.
First Tuesday,
What else could it be? Town clerk, you want to do roll call? Because I guess we don't have the ability. Yeah, you do it.
Councilor Dean Antipas, Councilor Diane Barber, Councilor Joe Dela Cruz, Councilor Karen Morton, Councilor Bonnie Nault, and Councilor Deb Parizzotti, and Councilor Harry Watson, with Councilor Grimm is absent. So you have 8 members present.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
Mayor Schmidt, can you lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're always a mayor, right, Harry?
Once you're the mayor.
Once you're the mayor, you're the mayor.
Honorary.
Recognitions, awards, and memorials, we do not have any. That will move us to receipt of citizens' petitions. We have one person signed up. I'm not going to read this because she knows. She read it for several years. So she knows the rules.
You're supposed to read it.
You read it for the people that are listening what citizens petitions are.
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm being told I need to read this. So this is the portion of the council agenda where the council welcomes comments from citizens. All right, go ahead.
I can read it here, too.
Yeah, you probably know it by heart.
Right, almost. But I'm pleased to be here tonight representing the Eastern Connecticut Tourism District. And as you know, I was elected chairman on June 29th, and then came a very bittersweet moment on the following day, on Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Governor Malloy decided that he would eliminate the funding for the tourism districts. But nevertheless, I'm here to make sure that you all have the annual review of what the tourism district accomplished last year. And Ed Dombrovskis is here with me, and he's going to speak in case my voice gives way, which you know it does all the time. But we wanted to make sure that everybody had this information about what the tourism district did last year. I've also given each of you a copy of the letter that the Council of Governments sent to Governor Malloy, and it, I think, states very nicely what importance the tourism industry has in Connecticut, and in particular in southeastern Connecticut, because as you all know, we are the most visited area in the state. We work the hardest, and we've always tried to represent everybody in tourism in every way possible. And I also have with me in the packet a timeline on what happened, what has been happening this year. We have been targeted by the state the last 20 years for a reduction in our funding, and so we've had to live with that year after year after year. This was the worst year, of course, when it got defunded completely. So we have here that information for you. And if you have any questions, I'm sure that Ed Dombrovskis, who is our Director of Tourism, would be happy to answer them for you. He's been with the Tourism District as its director and actively working with it far longer than I have. So,
Rita, can you just state your name and your address just for
my name is Rita M. Schmidt. I reside at 12 Bank Street in Mystic, Connecticut.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions for our guest?
So what can we do?
Well, you can call the governor's office. You can write letters to either the governor or to Ben Barnes at OPM. And you have a letter here that was written by COG, which is very, very good and has a lot of information in it. And I don't know about the calls. I have gotten emails from people saying that the governor's office will not accept their calls, will not take down their name, their address, their telephone number, or their affiliation with tourism. So that, to me, is a little disheartening. But it's always good to try, because I think the more calls they get, the more they realize how important the districts are.
Bonnie and then Joe.
The other thing, we can go through the chambers and at least try and get people to actively support
all the tourism, like downtown district merchants is meeting tomorrow, and they're all concerned about the cuts to the tourism dollars
Right,
as
they are
well.
a great organization, and also the
So volunteer.
Business Association, the Groton Business Association is very good. I think that some of you would attend
Groton
those
Business
meetings.
Association.
Right.
Joe?
I just want to thank you for going up to Hartford and representing us the way you do. And I know you really did your best up there, and it doesn't sound like they're listening to anybody now, but what is the chamber's position on this? You know, are they up there trying to get more funds back, or is?
Well, I believe at the last tourism caucus, the caucus was organized by, I'm trying to remember how we say his name now. Paul Formica. I used to say Formica, but it's Paul Formica, and it's very well attended by almost every one of the representatives and senators from our district, and they are all actively supporting it. Tony Sheridan was there. He supported the tourism districts. And I know that the Mystic Chamber of Commerce is in a little state of change, but they do support the tourism. They've been really the tourism chamber of the area for all these years, so they are very vitally aware of how important it is to their industry to have representation here, have a tourism district that advocates for everybody. And right now we're trying to support the Heritage Park, which is all near and dear to all of our hearts. And they were depending on the district, and we still are trying to do as much as we can to promote the Heritage Park, because it's critical at this juncture for them to be able to reach out and have people aware of what they are, where they are, and how they can take advantage of the taxi. So this is very, very important.
Dean, and then...
The letter refers to districts, and I take it from this, the COG letter, I take it from this that it's not just our district that had funding cut, but the other tourism districts as well.
They're all eliminated.
Are they all up in arms about this, or is some?
They are all up in arms. They're all working very hard to try to reestablish some kind of income so that they can at least get to a point where if they have to disband, they'll be able to do it in a very logical way instead of just suddenly overnight locking the doors and trying to pay their bills. This has been a nightmare for everybody, and something that we're trying to overcome. I don't know if we can, but we're going to make every effort to do that.
Is there any cooperation among the tourism districts to present a united front?
Oh, yes, very definitely. And it's interesting because there's supposed to be 3, but there are always 5 districts. So the state realized that 3 districts cannot handle this by themselves, so they recognize the Quiet Corner, they recognize Stamford area as separate individual areas that they cannot handle, and they want us to handle it for them. But they've been cut back. They are going to be very hard put to do whatever has been done in the past, because they can't even do what they did in the past. They're not even going to have a visitor's guide next year.
Diane?
Do you think it would help if we asked Mark to send a letter on the behalf of the town councilors?
Oh, I think very definitely.
Okay, can we do that?
Great. Deb?
That was my comment.
Very good. I find it, one of the things that was talked about at the COG, I think, was that it's almost, you need to spend this money to make money.
Exactly.
And the state gets all of their money, a good chunk of money from tourism, and they're cutting that funding to bring people into the state to spend money. So they're probably losing revenue, not just the expense of it,
Right.
because it probably paid for itself and then some, but they're losing added tax revenue from people outside the state who would be spending in the state and thus filling the coffers. But if the people don't come, there's a substantial loss of income.
That's
So I
right.
don't, that to me is,
Actually, that hotel tax was established 35 years ago to fund tourism districts so that the state and the state taxpayers would not be out of pocket for any of those expenses. And although they have diminished the funding to the districts, they still keep that particular tax is in force. People pay it, they go to a hotel. And in addition, they are charging $1 a day for rental of any automobile, which is supposed to go to the tourism districts. And of course, that all goes into the general fund now rather than going to districts.
It's very depressing.
I know. It is.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Are they still going to have the website up, the tourism website?
No, the state has a statewide website, which was supported by the districts, and we were to be responsible for keeping it updated and giving them information on different events that are happening all the time, so that they would always know what was happening in August and be able to put it on that website. There's a separate website for the Mystic Country, which is our area, and they need to be able to change that so that if there's something new happening, if a new entity comes into town, like the Heritage Park, that has to be part of this whole website. And I don't know who's going to do that if, I don't know how the state can actually take over these duties. I think they might want to, but they're understaffed as it is.
Anybody else? Well, thank you both for coming in tonight.
Do you have any questions for Ed? He has
Thanks,
a
Ed.
better voice than I do.
So we're technically still in citizens petitions. Anybody else would like to speak? No? Okay. We have no one else signed up to speak. We're set with that. The responses we just kind of did. I would also like to move the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Antipus, a second by Councilor Watson to move the consent calendar. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0 to 0. That moves us to communications and reports. Start Town Council. We'll start with Councilor De La Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, this is a future thing. August 20th at 4:30, the Groton Town Police are going to be playing the city police. It was in our weekly thing, but I'm actually going to be announcing, so it should be pretty cool. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. Also, August 17th, just to let everyone know, we're having our monthly Community Speaks Out meeting. Hopefully, anyone that wants to come is invited. Hopefully, all the community can come out. We've been averaging about, like I said, about 50 people, and you can learn a lot about the opioid crisis there, and if your family or friends need help, come on out.
Great, thank you. Councilor Nolan?
Yeah, on Thursday, I went to the Economic Development Special Meeting, which was a presentation by the guy who has been hired to rewrite the zoning regs, and took input from the EDC and the associate members, and there were a lot of really good ideas discussed, and we're getting together back with him soon, so they're moving along on that.
Thank you. Councilor Watson?
Just one thing. I went to a retirement party with Felix Prokop, who Wesley was a town employee until '93, and he retired from the health district. It continued on until last Friday, I guess. I mean, I went to his retirement. Anyways, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Antipus?
Yes, July 21st, I'm one of Groton's representatives to the Representative Advisory Board of the Southeastern Connecticut Water Authority. And let's see, last Thursday was the beginning of a surreal evening. I attended the Boating Advisory Board's meeting, where there was a discussion about the use of the Spicer property for boating. They were curious to know what the town's plans were, time horizons, things like that. Were we to move, for example, Parks and Rec out of there, and does Parks and Rec need to be in the building? What would the town do with the building if we didn't have Parks and Rec headquartered there, et cetera? It ended with a rather surreal, murky trip through Fisher's Island Sound to somebody's dock. I went dressed, and I wound up with.
You ruined a suit.
Yeah, it was an interesting. It was going to be a brief meeting, you know. It was literally the 3-hour tour. I came home about midnight. Thank you, Beth Robinson, wherever you are. Exactly. That's it. Thank you.
Councilor Morton?
I have nothing to report.
Councilor Barber?
I last week went to the Heritage Park Commission meeting,
Thank you.
and in lieu of Bruce, Mayor Flax, and after finding it was a very, I know all of New London now, every back street there is. There's some beautiful places in New London. There's a lot of good people working on that commission, a lot of exciting stuff going on. They want to add to it, and so far, so good. They're doing well. And I also went to a meeting for the art gallery at Avery Point closure, and there's quite a few people getting involved in that, and they're going to try to get to meet with the board of directors at stores to see if some kind of common ground can be met on keeping the gallery open. So that's an ongoing fight, and we hope we're successful in it. And that's it.
Is there a time frame for that meeting? Do you know?
It's, the Board of Directors is meeting, I believe, a week from tomorrow, and they're hoping to have a letter to say, we would like you to come down and have a meeting with us and go over the logistics of keeping it open.
Thank you. Councilor Perizzotti?
It seems so long ago, but the last thing I did with the town was marched in the 4th of July parade. I have been on hiatus for a few weeks, but I always have a great time in that parade. Nothing else to report.
Thank you. I attended the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments on the 20th. On the 28th, I had a heroin response committee meeting with the Council of Governments. Met with Mark a couple of times. On the 25th, I had a U.S. Groton Sale Foundation meeting. Received several emails about vacation payout, about expenditures, police stopping somebody at the entrance of Groton Long Point, towing a car on Pearl Street, which we're looking into. Received an email from a constituent who wanted us, who told me that the solar panels for the that they were looking at, Solar City was looking at for the around the reservoir. Thank you. They can't do, and they're still looking for a place to put them. And so I just mentioned to Mark, and Mark was aware of it. So see if we can find a place here. And I also had a conversation with the mayor of the city a while back regarding Diane's suggestion for us to meet to talk about jail, the jail for the city prisoners, to house at our, and just have discussions about that.
And dispatch.
And dispatch. And so I met with the mayor, and she came away and presented to the city council that it was her recommendation that Mark, her, and the 2 police chiefs meet with nobody else. That she did not want it politicized, and she told me that the city council was adamant that that just those 4 people meet. And so I basically told her that we needed to discuss it. Wanted to get your feeling because you're the council, and I certainly have an opinion about it. But and I told her actually that I didn't think that the city council or the mayor had the right to tell the town mayor or council, for that matter, who they can and can't, what meetings they can and can't attend that pertain to town business. And she felt we needed to discuss this further. So before I discuss it with her, I thought it was important to get your opinion and see how you wanted to proceed, whether we wanted to say we insist that the mayor be there, we insist that the mayor and council be there, we insist to be able, however we want to proceed, I'm willing to. Councilor
I actually received a call from a former town councilor asking me what was going on about this meeting, because she wanted to be involved, she wanted to be there. She said that she thought that it should be an open meeting, whoever wanted to go should go.
Okay.
I just think that we should all sit down and put our heads together and get this going, because we've been talking about it for months. If the city mayor does not want it to be politicized, then she should not be there, because she's obviously a political figure. So maybe the 2 chiefs and the dispatchers should get together and then come in front of both the councils and tell us what their recommendations are and what would work and what wouldn't. Maybe that's the way to go. But I believe that, if nothing else, that the 2 mayors, you and her, should get together and figure something out, exactly how this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because enough is enough. It's been months.
Okay. Anybody else? Bonnie?
I completely agree with Diane, and I also they came before us during the budget, and they agreed to come and do this. So for them to say they're setting guidelines on it, I mean, we should just make it happen.
Deb?
My opinion is that we all have a vested interest in this. The original approach was, let's not have a whole corral of people while we're trying to figure out where to start and put something together in order to move forward. I don't necessarily feel as though the whole town council and the whole council, city council, have to be there for the first meeting or so. But as far as the council is concerned, the mayor was elected by us to represent us in the case that we could all not be there. With that being said, we work with the town manager. So the way that we're set up to run is town manager, town mayor. So to represent our side of the case in any discussion as far as any consolidation, that is minimally who I would like to see on our side. Obviously, the two chiefs are a given. So if the city mayor is making a stance, she is elected by the people. So yeah, she should be there. I understand that. But as far as the town manager and the town mayor, that's what my personal opinion is. They're elected bodies, you're hired, we are together as a two-person package, minimally. And I think that's a good place to start. I think having too many people at the very first meeting or two might be a little bit overwhelming. I think we need to make sure that we're on the same ground with the same ideas moving forward before we get too many people involved in the meeting. And that's just my personal opinion, but that's where I would stand.
Councilor Warren?
I would agree with Councilor Perazzotti. I think, I would also add that I think because a component of this is dispatch, I think perhaps Joe Sastry
And they did mention
should be
Joe to come
included,
as needed, yep.
because I think you're going to need to have somebody in the discussions who has the technical knowledge that's going to be needed. But I agree that I think you need to keep the group small. I think it becomes very cumbersome when you involve too many people. But I absolutely think that both the town manager and the mayor need to be there to represent us. And I basically see any effort to keep that from happening as just nothing more than usual stall tactics. Mm-hmm. Let's throw a monkey wrench in by, and stop the process. So I think we need to be very forceful in moving this ahead and standing our ground.
Thank you. Diane?
Especially since both of the chiefs said, yes, I will sit in front of you and we will discuss this. Mm-hmm. So we definitely have to get this meeting going whatever way. And when this former town council was talking to me, she didn't mean that she wanted to be involved in the meeting, but she would like to be watching the meeting. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to get something moving forward.
Okay. Joe?
I would just say that, again, you are the elected mayor, and I think when they look at Mark, I think they look at Mark as the leader of our town, and they look at Mary as leader of the city. And I don't know if I would put a stop and let's not talk about it. If that's the issue, would we stop all negotiations and stop all talks because Bruce isn't in the room? Because I think Mark would represent us well, and if it got out of hand and Mark was in a meeting saying, listen, it just isn't going well, I think that we should have our elected official in there. Maybe, a start's a start type of thing, maybe. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would stop all discussions and say, well, Bruce has to be in the room or we're not talking. Maybe we just get past that and say, all right, let's see how it goes. And if it seems to not be going in the right direction or it's not going well, then we can always back out of it. But I think starting a conversation is something we haven't been able to do in how many years? You know, that's been your frustration the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a beginning, maybe, and then it goes somewhere from there. This is just very beginning discussions, and I can see one, you know, the head of the town, the head of the city. Again, you are the elected head of the city, but I think, you know, he's the paid head of the city. So that's where I see it, and maybe, you know, we're throwing our own monkey wrench in maybe from this side if we say, you know what, we're not gonna do it unless Bruce, and then they do have the excuse to say, all right, next year we'll do the meeting. So maybe we just make it, you know, maybe we just let it go.
It's not an option not to have this meeting.
Hold on.
No, yeah.
Sorry.
Bonnie?
So,
And
I
then
just want
Dean.
to say, I mean, I think maybe it is a good idea to just have the two chiefs and Joe Sastry and start at the basic level and see what they come up with for a proposal, and then have you and Mark and Mayor Galbraith get involved at the next meeting.
Dean?
Yeah, either the minimal meeting or the inclusive meeting, but not the hybrid that's been proposed. That frankly is a gesture, and it really can't be ignored. I don't want to make a fuss, but when the fuss is brought to me, then I'm going to deal with it.
I mean, my feeling is that I find it incredible, and Joe, you're kind of the one who's saying it's okay, that the town is having something dictated by the city. That, you know, we want to have this meeting, and before we even have the meeting, the mayor is saying, it's my suggestion that these 4 people attend. And the last time I checked, there's a couple of things. The town's substantially bigger than the city is. Mark reports to us. So I think Mark has the leash to do whatever he wants with our okay. I think that's a given. But for anybody, whether it be the mayor, it'd be anywhere, whether it be anybody in southeastern Connecticut who puts a limitation on who can and cannot in this town, especially the people who are elected to be representing the people, be prohibited from a meeting, you know, and I find it insulting, and I would hope that other people would too, because the city does not dictate what happens in the town, and so when you say that you don't want to politicize it, you're politicizing it by making that statement. So, you know, if you just had the meeting and went forward, it would be no big deal. I would, you know, to say it's politicizing it to have me there, you know. You know, you can take whatever you want from that, but I personally, I would go with either at minimum the 5 of us, with Joe Sastry or whatever, as needed, or just the 2 police chiefs and Joe Sastry as needed. But for us to say, okay, we're just going to meet because that's what, you know, we don't. They wouldn't bow to us. We shouldn't bow to them. We should have a discussion about it. It's not them dictating to us. So. I'm good with either way. I'm good with whatever the council wants to do, but I'd like to give her a call back and have a meeting and figure out how we can get this going.
Isn't there a data dispatch guy from the city that should be included too? I don't know. Who runs their dispatch?
I don't have a name for that. I'm assuming the chief is pretty aware of what
The chief of police.
goes on.
Okay.
Dispatch for the town is separate from the police department. In the city,
It's all part
dispatch
of the
is
thing.
part.
Okay, okay.
I think we
Just
all
didn't want
want
to
whoever
exclude
technically-
somebody who's important to the meeting.
Harry?
No, I mean, both the city and the town have great chiefs of police.
Yep.
They're both professionals, they both do a great job, and I think they're straight shooter is a bad term, but they're both tell the truth. I might feel a little different than everybody else does. I think it's just a way of kicking the can down the road. You know, I would advocate for an open meeting, regardless of who's sitting at the table. I think the public has a right to see what's going on and what's discussed. I don't think it should be in a back room with 3 people, 4 people, 5, 6, whatever you come up with. I mean, I personally, if I wasn't doing anything and it was at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, I might like to sit in the back of the room and listen to the discussion, find out what's going on. I think that's what our government is supposed to be all about, how we make decisions out in open public so people know what we're talking about. I'm fine with Bruce, Mark, Joe Sastry, both chiefs of police, and the mayor of the city being at a table and just would like to have the chance to sit in the back of the room and listen to what they're talking about. So that's my 2 cents.
So I'm going to go back to the city, and is that
Give them the 3 options.
with what Harry's saying being our first choice?
Okay.
Ooh.
No, I think that you're right as far as
You're right.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Joe?
You're saying having a wide open meeting, again, our council, their council?
No,
No.
no, having an open meeting so I could be like former Mayor Schmidt sitting out there
Publicized
listening to
meeting.
what's being discussed.
But
There could
still
be 4 or
the
5 people at the table.
There's no
But why
public
not-
comment.
Why not
It
let,
just
I mean, a counselor got a hold of me, a former town councilor, a woman, Patrice, got a hold of me
Same,
and
same.
asked me, she'd heard rumors, and
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to tell her
Wanted
back
to know,
again.
and that's
I mean, she
exactly what I
might
told
be
her.
sitting out there in the back of the room listening too, so.
Yep. So in other words, it's only them talking,
Yeah.
but anybody that wants to come, any resident that wants to come
Right.
Can sit in
can
and
sit
listen.
in.
Do you think there'd be opportunities where somebody may say something and then they wouldn't in an open meeting of, maybe, not just safety issues, but maybe, hey, you know what if we did this, but they didn't want to say it in front of, I mean, you can dig down dirty, and I think this is just one meeting, right? We're not talking about, this isn't a commission we're putting together that they're going to meet for the next 3 years on. It's just a one-time meeting. Even if you were involved, I don't know if that one, we go in executive session, we went in 4 times last week to talk about things and then come out and, make decisions in an executive session type meeting, and then you come out and deal with it after. It seems like a really big issue that we've always had out in the open, and really, where have we gone? It doesn't seem like we've moved the needle anywhere, and maybe these smaller it'd be something different. Have we ever done that before? Because we've all been in the big meeting with everyone there, and we've been in the public meetings, and we haven't moved the needle. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying for or against, but really where have we, our frustration's been over the last, 20 years, and it
Yeah,
doesn't
I mean,
seem
what could 4 or 5 people possibly have to hide that they wouldn't want the public to hear?
Exactly.
I mean, the taxpayers have the right to hear what people are talking about, and I don't have to be at the table. It can be Bruce and Mark and Joe Sastry and the 2 chiefs of police and the mayor of the city.
And to your point, isn't that really the first time that they have agreed to sit down?
I think they've done it before, and we've had both chiefs, we've had 3 chiefs here.
To talk about this particular item?
We've had them all together a few times in the last council, twice, and they sat.
To talk about this particular item?
We talked about this badge,
merging.
we talked about a lot of things in front of a public meeting. I'm just saying it hasn't, I think,
Has not worked.
well, we'll just do it. To me, I'm not, like I said, I don't have this huge, strong opinion about which way we go with it, but this seems to be a different route than any other route we've taken, because we have done the open public, we've done all those things. I think we've done them, just on the council in the last 2 years, we did it twice. So I'm not against any, I'm just thinking that this is a different approach, and.
I think that what's being proposed has never been done. There's never been a discussion specifically where people sat down and talked about a specific subject relevant to all the 3 police departments, and tried to move the needle anyway.
Yeah.
And I think also that the proposal, the rules set down to me were at first go by the city. This is what they said. I want this, this, and this. We're just going to come back and say, we think it should be.
What if on our side, we just said, and then we include the mayor, we include Mayor Flax? And then it is the 5 people in the room. I just think that's different than what we've done in the past. Everything to me has been in the wide open, and everything should be in the wide open, and everyone that's involved we're not trying to keep secrets from people, but sometimes things come up and we speak more freely sometimes when the meeting is closed. I mean, I'm honest about that. I've seen it happen. That's what happens, and then when you come out, it's been talked about and kind of banged around a little bit, but you come out, I think, a little more knowledgeable on both sides, because people, I think, are usually more open sometimes. So, I mean, again, we'll see how it works, but.
Dean?
2 things going on. I just don't think, I cannot imagine that there's an exception under freedom of information for a meeting like this, where you could have, as much as you think that you could have free and open exchange, which you do. It's sort of our version of pillow talk. But I don't think the meeting would be allowed to be closed. And the other thing is, again, just going back to, they set the conditions. Well, heck, if there are conditions, what do I care who sets them? But the thing about Bruce, they'd rather Bruce not be there, whether it's the mayor's idea or the council's idea or both. To me, that's just a gesture, that's a poke. I'd rather that we not get off on that foot. And just to make it happen, to say, okay, have it your way, and we'll start it off, and then we'll work it out later. No, we're asking for something very, very, very small. There's no politics involved. Bruce doesn't come in as some sort of giant GOP bigwig to go make a political point out of the thing. He's the mayor of the town, for Pete's sake. It would have been a natural thing to say, come on in. I'm here, you're here. We're not, you know, so to go out of her way and to say, well, the council's adamant, we're adamant that Bruce not be there, what gives? So I say hold fast on that one. I don't know what it's about, but it just smells like a gesture to me. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Dean. I'll give her a call and get together, and we'll see what happens.
3 options, right?
3 options. Thank you. That gets us to clerk of the representative town meeting.
Yes, it can. So, the RTM Education Committee is meeting this evening on the Groton 2020 plan, the ordinance to spend 184 point something $million. And the Finance Committee is meeting tomorrow night. Both of those meetings are at the Senior Center. Tomorrow night's meeting is at 7 o'clock. Tonight's started at 6, so it's probably finished. The RTM itself the entire RTM will be meeting on August 10th with that agenda item of the ordinance at 7:30 at the Senior Center. And there is still 1 vacancy in District 6. It's a Republican seat that was vacated by Luann D'Amato.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Clerk of the council.
See, I just wanted to share with you dog licensing information, and also, so as of right now, in comparison to last year, we're down 80 dogs less registered. I don't know why. We certainly put more effort into it. Go figure. Also, I wanted to share with you, well, that's money that we get. Probably never understand that, but for dogs that are altered and dogs that are unaltered, and individual late fees are $1 a month, we get a fraction of that. There's a formula that's set up. So we get about $11,525 from registering dogs this past year. With that, that goes right into the care at our animal control facility. So people think that it's going in someplace awful. It's not. It's all these funds are going to help animals. And what goes to the state is earmarked the same thing. It's for animal control. So please register your dog. Also, I thought that you'd be interested in our revenues for this month are huge, but don't think that they're going to continue. Last month, we had a spike in conveyance of so a total of $82,748.57, which is a large sum of money for the month of July. And that, when you compare it from the previous year, we had a huge spike in revenues because of a sale of a large building. So, and the way you can really see that is how many recordings, our individual recordings are done. And so recordings from last year total $130,677 for conveyance fees of $712,079 and change. So you see, there's a lot of recordings, but not as many as just 1 month. It's really weird. So I'd like to just keep you abreast on those fluctuations, and it really shows you that there are a lot of movements on properties. So because there's a huge amount of instruments being recorded, so it's kind of it gives you a weather of what's really moving and what's not. So June and July June is typically the largest month, and that's where we make the most in revenues for conveyance. Is that it? That's the big stuff, yeah.
Thank you. Town manager?
Yes, thank you. A couple items. Next week's agenda, Committee of the Whole, next Tuesday. Just want to give you a preview of some items that I think will be on the agenda. Old Mystic Fire District will be coming in. As you may recall, the council, when you approved the pilot funding for the fire districts, you asked that before those dollars were dispersed that we invite everybody in. So Old Mystic is the first one that will be visiting with you. I hope to be able to put on the North Stonington Road Bridge project. We did receive notice, well, over a week ago from the state that we are in line to receive a bridge grant. And the last time Gary was here, he mentioned that to you, and we said that once we heard towards the end of July, we would come back and give you an update. So the good news is we're getting close to $600,000 from the state to help offset some of the costs associated with that bridge replacement. The bad news is it's known as North Stonington Road, so they have a signature block for the North Stonington First Selectman, as opposed to the Stonington First Selectman. So they're supposed to be sending us a letter correcting that. So I really expected that we would have had that by now. I believe from our last discussion when Gary was here, depending on whether or not we got the grant or didn't get the grant, it was the council's desire that we reach out and invite Stonington officials to the meeting. At least that's my recollection. Is that everybody's recollection? Yep. Okay, we will certainly do that. I don't know what their availability is on Tuesday nights. We will certainly get an invite out. Quarry and Water Tower, I'm hoping. This is at the Northeast Academy property up in the Fieldcrest neighborhood. I'm hoping that we'll be in a position for you to consider granting both the permanent and temporary easement next week. We have had some recent communication with Clarion, so hopefully that will be ready to go. Would like to be able to update you with respect to the tax incentive agreement for Branford Manor. Given the nature of the subject matter, I would recommend we go into executive session because it's really more of a strategy session as to what the council may be willing to consider. We've had a couple of meetings, not only with them, but also with the city representatives amongst ourselves to kind of work through the numbers and see what would be acceptable for both the city and the town. Gary Schneider, I think, wants to update us on the status of the solar farm that was talked about on the landfill. There was authorization that the council gave a little while ago, and there's some activity going on there. Also, we'd like to talk to you about the Energy Committee that the council established a number of years ago. In fact, Rita Schmidt is the chairperson of that, and some suggestions, or at least kind of a review of activities to date and whether or not that's the best vehicle to solicit the type of input that we think we need from industry and others in the community. And there probably will be a couple other items. I just don't know if the staff work's going to be done by Thursday morning. But that's the agenda so far. If there's anything in particular that you would like to see on the agenda, either an existing referral or a new referral, if you could let me know, let's say by noon tomorrow, that would be great. Or let the mayor know, and then he can let me know.
So just as a point to your meeting, I will not be here next Tuesday night, so I'm going to you guys are be fine. I think that everybody else will.
I won't.
Karen
I'll be
won't.
on vacation.
Greg won't.
And Greg won't. And Dean, maybe you can run them.
I'm happy to.
Great. Also,
everybody else will be here as far as you know. A couple other items, just a reminder, I know some of you got the email the other day, the Connecticut Sub-Century meeting is this Friday, the 5th at 9 a.m. in this room. And as the clerk has noted, the RTM is busily doing their due diligence on the 2020 school initiative plan. I certainly think it would be helpful if counselors could attend either tomorrow night's meeting, obviously you couldn't attend tonight's meeting of the committee, tomorrow night's meeting or next Wednesday's meeting.
We have a conflict.
What, tomorrow night? Yes, I have a meeting tomorrow night.
What time's the meeting tomorrow night? Is it 6 or 7?
7 o'clock.
7.
It's the same
Okay.
time as the RTC meeting. And I am not going to be here next week. I just looked at my calendar, so I apologize. I'm out of town.
How many we have? 5?
5.
Do you guys want to postpone the meeting, or do you want, I mean, so I don't care, it doesn't matter to me either way. Does it matter to you, Mark? Does it? Because the following 2 weeks, you're not here, right? In
The following committee of the whole meeting, I was just going to get to that, on the 23rd, I will not be here. Cindy Landry will be the acting town manager. I will be out of the office from the 19th through the 26th.
And I won't be here the 23rd.
Neither will I.
Neither will I.
Holy
Okay.
moly.
Okay.
All right, hold on.
We better have a meeting
So
next week.
if, just so I get it, so for next week, who's, I'm sorry,
Bonnie,
Ani,
Karen.
Who's
And I
out or
think-
who's here? Who's out or here?
who's out next week? I have Bruce, Karen, Bonnie, and
Greg.
somebody mentioned
Yeah.
Greg.
Likely Greg, yeah, I don't know how long
let me
he's,
see, I have his,
He said 2 weeks.
yeah, I think he's
but he
out.
left last week, right?
But I don't know if
He
he's
said the
missing
2 Tuesdays though. Specifically said those 2 Tuesdays.
He did, that's what I thought he said too.
And on the 23rd,
I won't be here.
I
I
won't be
will
here.
not.
It's my birthday week. And I'll-
So,
Week? You take a whole week?
Just
was
like
that
Madonna.
so Deb, Diane, Dean,
It's our side of the table.
That 5th Tuesday is going to be a meeting.
Do 5 for next Tuesday?
You ain't gonna
There are
have any
5
meetings.
Tuesdays.
For next Tuesday, there's 5. For the Tuesday after, I don't think there is.
We need 6 for the next Tuesday.
What about the 16th?
okay, who's not here the 16th? I'm
We're
sorry.
talking the
Yeah,
23rd.
I'm not here
I'm
the
talking,
16th.
okay.
Gotcha.
So we have, it looks like we'll have 5 people next week for committee of the whole meeting. How about on the 16th? What's at the next town council meeting?
I'm here.
I'm here.
That's
Who's
my
not?
30th wedding
I won't be
anniversary.
here.
You think
I'm
of it?
I'm gone out for 2 weeks.
So Karen's
My
the
wife would
only one out.
understand. I don't know.
So we're good for then.
For the 16th.
So one possibility would be
To have a special meeting before the 16th.
I'm going to be here till midnight.
I mean, I don't know if, Harry, I'm looking at you because I always get confused on committee of the whole, town council, what do we need for a quorum? I think we're good for next week.
Need 5.
If all 5
Yeah.
are
6 for a
available.
council meeting, 5 positive votes.
It's maybe really more an issue is the comfort level of everybody else for acting on, potentially acting on stuff.
Trust you
Doesn't sound
guys.
too complicated.
I don't think there's anything really that
Mm-hmm.
complicated, yeah.
Going to need an incentive. You got to bring cookies in or something for me to show up now.
Okay, so the 9th is on, the 16th is on, the 23rd.
It looks like 3 of you won't be here. We
I
do have.
may be here, I'm scheduled for federal jury duty in New Haven, so it depends on whether or not I'm serving.
So we'll play the 23rd by ear right now. But definitely out on the 23rd. Bonnie, you're here, right?
I'm not here next week, that's
I'm
all.
out on the 23rd.
I'm out on
And
the 23rd.
Diane and possibly Karen and definitely Dean.
I'm
And-
on the 23rd. Right?
Okay.
So
You
it'd
get
be
all
us
that, Mark?
5.
And possibly Karen, depending on jury duty.
Depends how
Right,
you
so
answer the questions.
23rd, Dean is out, Diane's out, and I'm out.
Well, Greg might be here.
And Karen's a possible out.
Right. And Greg should be.
To the 23rd, yeah. Okay.
Okay?
Let's take August off.
That's what all the Italians did. And that's all the Europeans do.
You have anything else?
That's it. I've created enough havoc.
Yeah. All right, committee reports. Chairman Watson?
We met tonight, but I have minutes, but it'll be for our next, I'll read the minutes of the next regular council meeting. There'll be agenda items.
Thank you. Rules Committee?
No meeting, no report.
The Committee of the Whole did meet last week. We had a number of items on the agenda, and many of them will be discussed in tonight's meeting. So stay tuned. Councilor Antipus, can you read the first order of new business?
Certainly. Referral 2016-0187, resolution authorizing submission of a Library of America National Endowment for the Humanities grant application, whereas Library of America National Endowment for the Humanities offers competitive grants to present public programs, and whereas the Groton Public Library is currently involved in presenting several programs celebrating Connecticut's submarine century, and whereas the grant would assist the library in continuing related programming and expanding the program to include topics in World War I history. Now therefore be it resolved that the town manager, Mark R. Oefinger, or his designee is authorized to submit a grant application in the amount of $1,200 for 2 programs, or $1,800 for 3 programs, to the Library of America National Endowment for the Humanities. And I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Antipus, second by Councilor Nault. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0 to 0. Councilor Morton?
Yes, Resolution 2016-0188, resolution authorizing submission of a Groton Education Foundation grant application for a library Sunday opening. Whereas the Groton Education Foundation supports educational innovation and excellence within the Groton community through grants, and whereas the Groton Public Library has been working to secure funding to allow the library to remain open on Sundays from September 18th, 2016 to April 30th, 2017. Now therefore be it resolved that Town Manager Mark R. Oefinger or his designee is authorized to submit an application to the Groton Education Foundation for grant funding in the amount of $520 to cover the cost of opening the library on one Sunday during fiscal year ending 2017. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Morton, a second by Councilor Barber. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0 to 0. Councilor Barber, can you read the next one, please?
2016-0192, resolution making appointment to miscellaneous and ad hoc committee resolved that Town Councilor Harry Watson is appointed as the mayor's designee to the School Readiness Council. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Barber, a second by Councilor Nault.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
We didn't vote yet.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0 to 0. Councilor Perizzotti, you have for the staff?
Absolutely. 2016-0193, resolution authorizing application for and receipt of Brownsfield grant for the Mystic Education Center. Whereas on July 19, 2016, the Groton Town Council passed Resolution 2016-0183, authorizing an application for and receipt of Brownsfield grant for the Mystic Education Center. Whereas the State Department of Community and Economic Development requires specific language in the resolution, and whereas pursuant to Public Act Number 15-193, Section 3 and 4, the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development is authorized to extend financial assistance for economic development projects. And whereas it is desirable and in the public's interest that the town of Groton make an application to the state for $50,000 in order to undertake the reuse of the state-owned former Mystic Education Center and to execute an assistance agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council that number one, it is cognizant of the conditions and prerequisites for the state financial assistance imposed on Public Act Number 15-193, Section 3 and 4, and number two, that the filing of an application for the state financial assistance by the Town of Groton in an amount not to exceed $50,000 is hereby approved, and that Mark R. Oefinger, Town Manager, or his designee, is directed to execute and file such application with the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development to provide such additional information to execute such other documents as may be required to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for state financial assistance if such an agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, decisions, and revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the town of Groton. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Perizzotti and second by Councilor Knoll. Any further discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, Joe?
I was just going to ask if do we have plans to bring in the legislators for this? I mean, we're gonna send this out, but I mean, just so before we, I mean, not before, because we're gonna send this out now, but to make sure everyone's on board, you know.
I think we have planned to call the legislatures in at some point to have a discussion about a number of things, so.
Yeah.
We certainly can get that lined up.
Yeah, I think there are 3 or 4 items.
Yeah.
I did remember the third item, but now I forgot it again.
Again, nice.
You tell me when you want to try to get them in.
Yeah.
Well, obviously not the 16th
Yeah.
or the 23rd.
Sorry. So go
September
for,
sometime?
yeah, September.
First committee of the whole?
Sure.
In September, does that, or we could do it before a regular council meeting, too. We'll give them a couple.
Give them a couple of choices. Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? That passes 8-0. Councilor Watson?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2016-0195, resolution expanding the Noank School Public Gardens Task Force and making additional appointments, whereas the Town Council established the Noank School Public Gardens Task Force to oversee and manage the day-to-day functions of the town-sanctioned public gardens at the former Noank School property in accordance with a guiding document dated October 21, 2014. Whereas the Town Council subsequently appointed 7 individuals to serve on the task force, and whereas the task force has requested that the Town Council expand the Noank School Public Gardens Task Force membership to 9 people, whereas the task force has recommended that one of the new positions be reserved for a student of either Fish High School or Grasso Technical High School, and that the other position be filled by Eric Larson of 61 Prospect Hill Road. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council expands the Noank School Public Gardens Task Force from 7 members to 9 members, and be it further resolved that the Town Council designates one member of the Noank Public School Gardens Task Force as a student from Fitch High School or Grasso Technical High School, parentheses, to be chosen by the task force, close parentheses, and appoints Eric Larson, 61 Prospect Hill Road, as the final member of the task force. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Watson and a second by Councilor Barber. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0. The next item, 2016-0194, is the Town Council Board of Education Joint Task Force on Shared Services. And I think we'll have this as a completed resolution the next meeting.
Okay.
That we do have confirmation from the Board of Ed. They have 3 members they put forth. We have our members. Just want to make sure it's appropriately written, and we'll get those meetings going. So that brings us to a motion to suspend the rules, and I will read this. I hereby move pursuant to Town Council Rules Section 13, parentheses B, and Connecticut General Statute Section 1-225, parentheses C, to suspend Town Council Rules Section 7, parentheses B, to add the following new business item to the agenda of this regular Town Council meeting. The agenda item is 2016-005, pending litigation, authorization to execute documents pertaining to United States District Court Case Number 3:14 CV01850 WWE. I so move.
Second.
So we have a motion by the Mayor, a second by Councilor Antipas. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0. Councilor Knott, will you take the new business agenda item?
Sure. 2016-005, pending litigation, authorization to execute documents pertaining to the United States District Court case number 3-14, CV 01850 WWE. I so move.
Second.
Ooh.
Oh,
Can you read the
you have
whole?
to read the whole thing.
Oh, resolution authorizing town manager to execute documents pertaining to United States District Court case number 314 CV 01850 WWE, whereas the town is a party to litigation bearing United States District Court case, same number, and whereas town representatives participated in a mediation on July 26, 2016 regarding United States District Court case, same number, and reached a tentative agreement to resolve all aspects of the matter, and whereas the town attorney recommends that the town approve the mediated tentative agreement, and whereas the town council determines that it is in the best interest of the town to approve the terms of the mediated tentative agreement, now therefore be resolved that the town council authorizes town manager Mark R. Oefinger to execute documents to be prepared by attorneys representing the town and consistent with the terms of a mediated tentative agreement pertaining to the United States District Court number 3:14 CV 01850 WWE. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Nault, a second by Councilor De La Cruz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0 to 0. Yeah, Councilor Nault?
Can I bring up a new business item?
I don't think you can.
Or can I make a referral?
I don't particularly care, but
Because we're
it's,
suspended.
but it's a, no, because there's no new,
Well, it's all under business, though.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right, what do you, give it a shot,
Well,
go ahead. What do you got?
Well, we had talked about, after the first year, going through the process of trying to go out to bid for a new attorney, and since she was in here tonight, just reminded me that we really haven't done anything about that. And I wanted to know if you all thought we should proceed with something.
Part of
along
it's
that
charter revision. I think that when we talked about it when the council convened, that we agreed to
line. Not do it the first year.
right. So if it's something that you want to put on the agenda to discuss further,
I would like to put it on the agenda.
would others like to?
That's yours. Pass it down.
Is everybody interested in?
Is anybody else interested in putting that on the agenda?
Yes.
I'm not.
I am not.
I have a list of things. They don't all have to go on one cow meeting, but I like things referred to the cow or to ad hoc committees that we form to discuss and deal with a number of matters. It's the mayor's discretion, of course, to begin with.
Okay.
One is, if I might, very, very briefly, I'm not going to read everything here, to form a public safety committee. It's not a standing committee, it would technically be an ad hoc committee to look into broad questions. We can narrow the submissions to the committee. This doesn't have a roving commission necessarily. But these questions come up all the time about fire protection, medical calls, et cetera. Where are we? Where can we be? And all that. So I'd like, and again, this doesn't have to all be handled in one cow. Review of town services and operations. I've mentioned this before, just wanted to formalize this. I think it would be a good idea outside of budget season for at least the council to put together a committee to talk about. It doesn't have to deal with everything all within the next year, but get the process going of, in peace, looking at what does the town do? Can it be done better? Can something else be done? Is there something that we don't need to do, et cetera, rather than dealing with it in the white heat of budget season. I also recommend that we should probably bring on board people from the RTM if they're interested and make it a task force, just to keep the names straight. The third one has to do with the use of the SCARA building at the landfill, the transfer station site for fire district training. I've had a couple of requests over time, I believe just from the Mystic Fire District, but it would benefit other fire districts as well if they're interested in using that building for fire training purposes, not just the open building, the giant lean-to, but also the office building for that. I think I spoke with Gary one time. He indicated that the department, the town uses it for storage of certain raw materials but that he doesn't believe that use by the fire districts would interfere with the town's use of the building either. But I'd like to at least get that discussion going. Fourth item, I mentioned this once before too, is a Citizens Academy, and I've attached sort of a draft outline of what that might look like. This is ambitious, I grant you, but at least like to get an idea of what would be required in terms of volunteer time, staff time, be paid, of course, as well. What it would take to set up a so-called Citizens Academy where you can run relatively small groups of people season after season through town operations, get a closer look. Don't just watch us on TV. Nothing goes on here. We want to see how the town works behind the scenes, so that's an idea. Next one's a very, very small thing. I noticed on the Town of Windsor site, and there might be some others as well, they have something called Build a Budget. You actually get to play with the town budget and create your own variations to see how it would affect the mill rate. It's a very easy, I'm not talking about implementation, but it's a very easy to use, hands-on way of playing with the budget yourself. That might go a long way, I think, toward educating a lot of our folks as to how the budget works and what the constraints might be. And the last one is, I've had this on the list for a while. I don't know who was here back in 2009. Harry will remember, of course, and I think Bruce and Deb too. We had an issue on Sandy Hollow Road where there was a breach in a wall, or the remains of a wall, for purposes of timbering. And it came to light at that point that there was really, the statute, our ordinance never really dealt with what happens if somebody does not seek council approval for a change within the right-of-way. There are really no teeth in that ordinance. So we should probably take a look at that and decide whether we want to bother. Can we? What kind of a penalty would there be? It's not a huge problem, very low priority. This is in case we've got absolutely nothing else to do, but I thought while I'm submitting a pile of papers. So the council can pace this out as it wishes. I just thought I'd get this off my to-do list.
Well, thank you, Councilor Davis. Appreciate the submission. Councilor Nault, if you can take your referral item that you brought up this evening and just put it on paper and submit it, that would be great. Anybody else have anything? Councilor Morton?
Yes, I just wanted to bring up the Virginia's Court issue because I saw, I'm sure you all did, the article in the newspaper about there's a petition circulating. They've already gotten about 250 signatures on it. This kind of reminds me of what we went through with Allen Street and the state wanting to change the sign. This is generating a lot of interest and a lot of public response from the people that live in this neighborhood. I actually went down and drove around, and I have to be honest with you, I myself don't understand how this, I mean, I understand that at some point there was a fatal accident, and apparently for safety reasons, a decision was made to close that intersection. I think if we closed every intersection in town where there's been a fatal accident, we'd have a lot of closed community sections of town. But I think my concern is that I anticipate that at some point this council is going to be visited by the people who live in the Fort Hill Homes area. And I don't think we can treat them any differently than we did the people of Allen Street. I mean, I think they have a right to express their opinions, and I think we need to be receptive to what's going on there. And we're looking to spend a lot of money for something that the people who live in that neighborhood don't want. And I personally can think of probably better ways that we could spend that money if the people of the Fort Hill Homes area don't want it. So I'm just asking all of you to kind of think about this and how you feel about it, because I think it's going to be an issue we're going to have to make a decision on at some point.
I would say I think that this, well, theoretically speaking, the decision somewhat has been made that there's going to be a public, what is it, Mark? Not a public hearing, but a public
information
meeting about it. And maybe that will be the place where it convenes and And it comes to a head. I think every citizen has a right to be heard, for sure. Mark, and then Joe?
Yeah, it was a fatal there, but this project predated the fatal. This project's been around since around 2005. I think it came from really two sets of activities. One, we constantly have items in front of the traffic authority that deal with this stretch of road and have tried to engage the state. We can't do anything without state approval, be it to put in a turning lane, a real turning lane into Harry Day Drive, or to put in a real turning lane into Quantic Plains Park as you're heading towards Mystic. Some radius issues, we've had some drainage issues and so forth and so on. But the real focus was when the proposal to build a new school at the Claude Chester site a number of years ago is when we started, because as part of those plans there was a traffic analysis done of existing conditions, and it's simply an effort to try to improve traffic flow through that area. And Gary was here back in May and briefed the council. I don't remember who was here for that meeting or not, but I thought gave a pretty extensive overview of where this came from, and also what the impacts would be. There seemed to be, Deb from the day came in and visited me last week, and there seems to be, from my standpoint, a lot of the things that she was telling me that she had heard from is, oh, there won't be a crosswalk and this, and that's nothing could be further from the truth. That's the whole purpose, is to try to clean that area up so that there's not as many traffic movements shooting across the street or coming from the shopping center to McJenny's Court. I mean, I'm sure you all drive this stretch of road. It's not a pleasant stretch of road to drive at certain times of the day, not only in terms of traffic volumes, but also in terms of movements. As the mayor noted, there is a requirement, because we're getting a fair amount of state funding to do this improvement. The requirement is that there has to be a public information meeting. We anticipate that will probably be in September sometime. The plans, the terminology that the state uses, they want the plans developed to a 30% level, and then we need to send it off to them to review, and that should be happening in the next couple of weeks. So we can't have the public information meeting until we get comments back from the state. And certainly we want people's input, but I'm not sure that folks that everybody fully understands what's being proposed here. And in part, that is based on my conversation with Deb, because I think she was under the impression, after talking to some folks, or some folks talking to her, that there wasn't going to be a pedestrian walk there. And that's not the case at all. There would be. We had reviewed this with the former chief of the Quantic Bridge a number of years ago. The intent is to allow emergency access in this area in case something bad was happening at Depot Road or something bad was happening down at Central Avenue, so it would be available for emergency vehicles. But given where I'm not, it would only be for emergency vehicles, for fire and for police and for ambulances, unless there was a detour for some reason. So the surface that would be put in would be able to support a heavy vehicle like a fire truck to get in and out without sinking up to its axles in the mud or whatever. So I think when the plans are together, I think there may be some other forces at work here in the neighborhood that may be bringing people to the conclusion that there won't be the intent is to have a pedestrian walkway there. Yes, there was a fatal there, but this project predated the fatal by 5-6 years.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the neighbor is concerned, because that's kind of my neighborhood. I live across the other side, but it's the inevitability of it. Like, it's going to happen. And I think It seems like it's going to happen, it's right, it's already been approved, the money. So this isn't something that people, it's gonna be information to tell them what's going to happen. It's not like the sign thing on Allen Street saying, how do you feel about it? This is just telling you, what's gonna happen. And I think a lot of them realize it's still gonna be a pedestrian crossway, and I still think there could be a button, I'm not saying add another street light, I don't want that, but a button where you press it and it just maybe flashes and the light lights up to show somebody that they are crossing. 'Cause
train station.
just yesterday, when they painted the lines, I stopped and let someone go, and the guy behind me whipped around and almost hit the guy right in front of my truck. That happens almost daily there, so and I know to stop now, I stop way back before the crosswalk. Maybe there should be a stop for pedestrian sign that's further back. But I think that's what the neighbors are concerned about, that this is a done deal. They feel like it's a done deal, and by all accounts, I think it is a done deal, right?
The council can always, I don't know what the repercussions are. The council and the RTM authorized this many, many years ago using local dollars. And then you did authorize us to submit an application for state funding. And it was just in this, for the current year CIP, saying that the state funding we had received. But it's not the whole purpose of a public information meeting is to get input. I don't know, ultimately, it's going to be the council's decision if you want to go ahead with the project. But it seems to me, we've looked at this for a long time. And I've yet to run into anybody that has ever suggested to me, oh, there's nothing wrong with that stretch of road. It's probably ought to be 2 lanes in each direction. It would be nice that over time, if we could eliminate some of the curb cuts. You look at the number of curb cuts from Route 117 to the entryway of the school, it's there's 6 or 7 curb cuts there, all within relatively close proximity to each other, with people making left and right-hand turns out of them. And the confusion that gets created there then puts pressure on the Route 117 intersection, because, I see it every day. At all times, where people get stuck, stranded in the middle of the Route 117 intersection with Route 1, because the person in front of them is stopped, either let somebody, it's probably a road that should be reconstructed from, well, at least from that intersection to the base of Fort Hill, but I don't see that happen in anytime soon.
I think that answered some of the questions that people ask me, because it's not over, because they're getting this feeling, and it doesn't seem like it's that. It is far along, but they may come to the meeting and say, wow, that makes perfect sense, and I think it would probably make the traffic flow better. There's probably a lot of reasons that it's good, but the fact that the neighborhood will be able to come in and at least have some kind of feeling that they're going to matter, and it all is going to be good.
Since we're all this discussion in the same neighborhood, did the state, out of the kindness of their heart, pave about 100 feet of South Road by the Aquatic Bridge Baptist Church? Because I knew that they did Route 1, and there's a nice little section right going in, maybe 100, 150 feet there.
Yeah, they went down South Road maybe a little bit more than they normally would have.
It's quite a ways.
And I think the reason for that is that, first of all, South Road is a state road. It's not a town road.
Oh, well, I guess.
But the heavy traffic, the heavy trucks that really did a job on pavement, both in Route 1 and on South Road in terms of ruts. And I think they were trying to bring it back to.
So all the cement trucks come down.
Right,
so.
and the asphalt trucks, yeah.
All right, thank you. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn.